Good morning. We are back out on the clearing job finally. Feels like it's been forever. Had to leave here for a few weeks. Had to take the family on a little vacation because you got to do that from time to time. And I had to wrap up some small mulching jobs and stuff like that. While I was gone, the landowners came out and looked over everything, and they said, you know what, we want all of the trees gone. Not on the whole property, that would be kind of crazy, and I'd be fine with it, but that's 25 acres of trees. So this creek that's through here that we've talked about, we were staying on, you know, originally we were staying like 5 feet off the bank, or so we were staying 10 feet off the bank, and then it went to like 5 feet off the bank, and then going, we changed down here past the burn pile down there. It got kind of thick because it gets pretty wide, and now they've just, you know, we were going to go through there a couple weeks ago whenever I talked to them last. We were going to go through there and thin out a lot of the small stuff, basically go into the creek, like we said we were going to stay out of, but they said we're going to go in there, just thin everything out, clear it up really good. Now they've decided they want all of these trees here gone. So there's some huge ones, and they said the ones like right directly on the bank, we're going to leave those, but everything that's up, like this river birch, all this stuff here, it's all going to go down. These are some bigger trees, so we'll harvest the logs the best we can for these, some poplars and stuff like that. So, you know, we harvest as much as we can, we burn the rest, but we had like 2 inches of rain while we were gone. Apparently it rained really hard and kind of washed out this ditch a little bit. I'm going to go through, there's a lot of dirt in there, I'm going to go through there and have to clean this up. There's actually looks like some lumber, I'm sure it was dumped in there a long time ago. There's all kinds of stuff up through there, but we'll clean that out a bit. Maybe rake back the bank, taper it off a little bit. So right here you can see it just drops off abruptly. I think I'm going to go in there. That's a black walnut, so we're going to leave that one for sure, and it's right on the bank. This one's right on the bank, so I think we're going to leave that one. But this bank right here, I think I'm going to go over there and I'll just grade it back, taper it back up, so it's more of like a slope and not just that drop off. I think they just want a little bit more accessible to the creek. They just don't want this whole area, and it gets pretty wide through there. That's just kind of useless in this pasture. It's just, they can't really do anything with it. It's gonna have to stay like a wooded area unless we do what we're gonna do now and just clear everything in that ditch area out. So that's a little update on this clearing job. There's gonna be more to it down the road, but as of now, that's what we're gonna work on. I need to get back out here and knock out some hours of work in here, and next week I have some more mulching, and then I'll be back here and hopefully make a big dent in this job. pipe, make this a permanent bridge area. I'm thinking probably right about here. Put a pipe in there, clean out that ditch. Take out these, the rest of these trees here, and there's this natural anomaly, I think is what you call it, that happens in poplar, and they call it rainbow poplar. The type of tree is a tulip poplar. Typically tulip poplars are, the outside wood is about, you know, like a light yellow, whitish, and then the inside is green. And then there's this what's called rainbow poplar, and you'll see why. It's different irons and stuff like that that gets in it, and it makes rainbow poplar. Oh, how cool that looks. It's like green, purple, brown, yellow. I started ripping this tree apart. You can see it. We're gonna harvest that log. You can see how big it is. I'm just up at the top getting the brush off, but I think that's pretty cool. So that may make some, if this thing's rainbow all the way down, those would be some cool looking slabs. bugs out of there. I was talking to my mill guy and he said he'd like to have river birch if it's worth anything. Meaning if it's solid at all. You don't come across it a ton. GoPro over there. That'll make a good shot, I think. But that's why you buy a GoPro and a really cheap tripod. Uh-oh. Hopefully it repairs it. I don't know if that's from it getting smacked by a tree or not. I've never seen that. Well, I went ahead and made a good mess. We got a lot of cleaning up to do. I had Thomas come through and pushed over all these big trees, set them aside, and he's cut them up into 12/6s so they can be hauled off for logs. This whole ditch here, I know it's hard to see on camera to follow the contour, but it drops down real there. There's water running down through here, so I had to rake through that, pull all that out. I'll pile up all the stumps and brush and everything. We'll probably take it down there where that burn pile was. There's not really enough material here to justify starting a burn pile. It looks like a lot now, but once the logs are gone, it's not a ton of brush. It is soft, sandy soil here. But I went over and tapered this bank back. Try to make the banks a little bit more, I guess, usable and less aggressive. So I think as I go, where it makes sense, I'm going to taper those back. Right here where the trees are, I'm not going to be able to. It would just look really kind of funky, but you know, because these trees that are directly on the bank, that's a black walnut, and this giant tree right here, they said just leave that one. But through here, I'm going to probably just rake the bank back and grade it a little bit, make it more of a slope rather than just a drop off. And yep, we got our work cut out for us, because that whole row of trees right there in the middle has got to go all the way down to, I believe, where we stopped with all those poplars down there. So the job that keeps on growing, and we are grateful for it.